Hello and welcome. My name is Natalia Zimnach, and I am the founder and CEO of Zimnach Financial Group. We are located in Long Island, New York. However, Zimnach Financial Group and myself are licensed in multiple states. That information is listed here below, or you can find it on our website. So, today we are going to talk about Medicare, one of the most fun topics, in my opinion. I have been doing Medicare for about 11 going on 12 years now. And so, again, we're going to be really diving deep into what is Medicare, what is A and B and C and D, the original Medicare, all of the details. We're going to kind of go through all the real basics. I'm going to explain what Medicare Advantage plans are, what Medicare supplement plans are, and how this whole system works. So we are going to get a little technical, but that's why we have this multi-part video series. So I really hope that you guys enjoy it. Now, just before we begin, I want to tell you all a little bit about myself and a little bit about Zimnach Financial Group. So I have been in the insurance and investment space for about 12 years now. I was licensed right out of college, and I am certified to do Medicare. I offer, and our firm offers Medicare, health insurance for individuals, for self-employed, for businesses of all sizes, small, medium, large. We also do group benefits. We do dental vision. We also offer life insurance, long-term care, disability insurance, and of course, we also do a lot of investment planning. We do inheritances, we do retirement planning, we do a lot of retirement income planning, which actually goes hand in hand with a lot of what we're going to talk about today in the Medicare space. And a lot of this does also impact your future health costs, if you will. So I will dive a little bit deeper into all of this. I will also briefly touch on long-term care insurance. I'm going to touch on the different options of what happens when you're leaving an employer plan. What happens if you're turning 65 and you still have employer coverage? How does this whole thing work? So without further ado, let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, so welcome to what I like to call the fun side of retirement planning. I'm going to minimize my video just so it's not too distracting, and I will pop up on the screen every once in a while just to convey a message. But the topic of today's meeting is Medicare health insurance and financial planning in your retirement years, but we're really going to focus today on the Medicare side of things. So let's start with the most important. What is Medicare? So Medicare is health insurance for people who are retirees, who are turning 65, individuals who are disabled and cannot work. So what does that mean? If you are turning 65 and you have medical insurance on your own as an individual, not through a business, not through your own business, and as a self-employed individual or just on a state exchange, basically anything except employer coverage, you have to go on Medicare. That is a rule. And later on, I'm going to explain why this is so important and why there are tax penalties and other types of penalties involved, and why we really should make sure that you have a nice, smooth transition when you do turn 65 into your medical coverage, into your Medicare plan, that is. So anybody who's turning 65 must go on Medicare unless you have insurance through your employer, and I'll explain that a little further on, a little bit more in detail. So anybody who is disabled and cannot work, what happens? Let's say, God forbid, you become disabled tomorrow and you go on Social Security disability. Well, for the first 24 months, you either have medical insurance through, again, your spouse's employer. After you are on, a different insurance plan up until 24 months into a disability, you are found eligible for Medicare insurance, and Social Security will automatically send you a Medicare card 24 months after you have been found to be permanently disabled, and then you have to take Medicare. Now, again, under what conditions do you have to take Medicare? Same conditions apply. If you are on a spouse's employer plan, you can keep that plan and you do not have to go on Medicare. But if you are on Medicaid, if you are on a government insurance, if you have advanced premium tax credits through your state exchange, if somehow you have self-employed coverage, perhaps through a spouse, we should have a conversation about that. But more than likely, you will have to take Medicare. And here's the big one: anybody who's over the age of 65 and they're leaving their employer-sponsored plan. So let's say you work till you're 66, 67, 70, because maybe your spouse is a little younger and you don't want to retire, you don't want to go on Medicare. How does this whole thing work? Do I have to go on Medicare when I turn 65? Can I keep my insurance at work? Because, I really want to make sure that my spouse is covered. The answer is yes, you can, as long as your employer doesn't kick you out of the plan. Now, what's the little rule of thumb? If you work for a small business, it's very possible that, unfortunately, your employer might say to you, hey, you're 65 now. Looks like you should be on Medicare. We really need to get you transitioned over onto a Medicare plan. Well, that's where maybe you might want to have a conversation and call us. That's one of the things that we specialize in is those sorts of transitions when a small business does make you go on Medicare right when you do turn 65. However, what if you work for a large company, a multinational corporation, a company that's got over 20, 50, a few hundred employees, a few thousand? More than likely, your employer will not care that you continue to stay on their health plan, because more than likely, you need it for yourself, you need it for your spouse, more than likely that they're covering the 100% of the cost of it, so on and so forth. So those are some of the reasons why maybe you want to stay on your plan after you turn 65. Now, the opposite could be true. Some individuals have either very expensive insurance or they have really bad insurance. Like, let's say you're single, let's say that, you're in a unique place where maybe your spouse could benefit from going on the exchange and getting a health plan there, or we can pay private coverage because your employer doesn't contribute towards the cost of your spouse's plan. Let's say you've got a high deductible plan and you're just not happy with it. And the amount you're paying plus, the amount you're paying for a spouse, the whole thing just doesn't make sense. Give us a call. We can analyze this transition onto Medicare for you, just to really make sure that you are in the right place. Because, we are honest. We've been doing the right thing for clients. That's why we've been around for all this time, and hopefully we will continue to grow with you. If it's in your best interest to keep you on your employer's plan, we will tell you to do that. So these are the three types of scenarios where you could go on Medicare. Now, each of these scenarios have different rules surrounding them. So let's talk about the first one. So I'm going to be turning 65 in a few months. What are my next steps? When can I enroll into a Medicare plan? And when's my initial enrollment period, so to speak? Well, there's a rule that says when you turn 65, you can enroll into a Medicare plan and into the A and B Medicare 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of your birthday, and 3 months after your birthday. That is known as your 7-month initial enrollment period or your initial enrollment window. Now, you also have so many special enrollments and election periods that you can utilize. So here's a really good example. While you have coverage from your employer, you keep that plan, but you have 8 months to enroll into Medicare Parts A and B after you leave your employer coverage. And there's also this little caveat that says 63 days after your health plan ends from your employer, you must have a prescription drug plan or be subject to a penalty. So what we really like to do is if you're planning on retiring, realistically, for the financial planning side of things, you should contact us a few years before you retire so we come up with a game plan. Maybe we can shift some assets, protect some of your retirement money. But again, going back to Medicare here, you should definitely reach out to us a few months, maybe 6 months even prior to your retirement, so that we have a sort of game plan because we don't like to let our clients be without Medicare for more than, say, 2, maybe 3 months from when they leave their employer plan. So let's go into the basics. This is what I like to call what's referred to as original Medicare. Okay, this is this lovely card here that you see, this Part A and Part B. And what does that mean? That means Part A, as you can see here, is for hospitalization, and Part B is for medical, meaning doctors, specialists, CAT scans, EKG, lab, blood work, and medical. Anything outpatient would typically be covered under Part B, but let's dive a little deeper into this. Now, just as we're transitioning to that, if you are a US citizen, you're born in the United States, you will automatically receive a Medicare card in the mail probably about 3 months before you turn 65. Now, if you have permanent residency, if you have a green card, you most likely you won't receive it in the mail automatically, and you do have to physically appear at Social Security to present these documents for verification. Now, with that said, you may also mail them in, and Social Security is really typically pretty good with verifying them and sending them right back to you. Most people opt to just pop into their local Social Security office for verification. You do need to bring original documents, which is very important. You cannot bring photocopies. They won't accept copies. You have to be there physically in person. So now, how do we get started with Medicare? What are some of the enrollment periods? What are some of the enrollment timeframes, right? We're going to circle back to this in just a moment, but if we just go back to this here is known as original Medicare. Well, what exactly is it and what does it cover?